Oh, it is late and it is a little dark in here, so I apologize for lighting. But that said, we're still going to get some great content, so don't worry about the lighting or the camera angle. We're going to talk today about the number 3, and we're going to talk about the number 3 and share things that you probably haven't heard before and explaining some of the connotations associated with 3. Let's get into it. We're going to be using, as always, Chaldean numerology to break this number down. So the single digit 3 is written as 0, 3. 0 plus 3 equals 3. So here's the digit sum. The outside of the number, 3, goes in the front, so it's a 30/3. Here we have a 33/6, creating a 36/9. Let's talk about it. 3. 3 is what? Growth, expansion, creativity, achievement. It is charisma. Why is 3 charisma? Because inside of a 3, you have a 2 and a 1. 1 is the idea, so 3 knows how to generate ideas, their creativity. 2 is the emotional sensitivity that knows what the environment needs, what the audience wants to hear, because 3 is the performer, it's the comedian. It's also charisma. So it has the idea, it has the awareness of sensing the environment and how to adapt to it and how to translate this idea out, and then it knows, the 3, how to express it. This formula of insight and ideation, how to adapt that idea based on the outer environment and how to express it, is a formula of charisma, hence the 3. Why is 3 achievement? Let's talk about it. We can use something I call cube dynamics. In this case, we'll keep it to a triangle, which is part of the cube. We're not going to go all the way into the cube because that would be too long. Okay, from nothing, the 0, a spark emerges. That's the 1. From that spark, polarity, duality, the 2. Put a 2 right here. Now, these edges can go off and off. That's why 2 is always longing for connection, because it comes from a unity of the 1, and as long as the 2 is looking outwards, it's going to be missing that it has this root here, this anchor. But generally speaking, 2 is reaching out, longing for connection. It's not until the 3 that comes along and pivots to create the very first shape of matter, which is the triangle. Hence why 3 is associated with willpower. Hence why 3 is associated with achievement. Why 3s like to be able to touch and have the measurement of success in the external world. The car, the home, the family, the 6. If you look at the so-called moons of Jupiter, how Jupiter has many, many moons, it's supposed to represent the family. Jupiter 3, Jupiter rules 3, it likes to have the big family. That's 6. 6 is the number of the family. Now, why is 3 so competitive? Well, that comes from the 33. So, if you again look at cube dynamics, you have the master number 11, the 2 1s, firing off their 2 sets of 2. That's a 22. 2 sets of 2 1s, 11, 2. 2 sets of 2 edges creates a 4. 4 containers. That's a 22. Master number, master builder, master of creating foundations that can be turned, a master of taking ideas and turning them into something that can be built upon. 33. You have 2 triangles. Well, you're also seeing this is the 2-dimensional square. If you look at this as a cube, once the edges touch of the 2, this is the 1, these are the 2, a vertical edge happens. And then you create the cube. I'm not drawing this probably right. This isn't bad. But this is supposed to represent a vertical edge of a cube. Now, what happens, what this means, 3 by itself represents one side, 3 represents the whole thing. The whole expansion, expression of the cube, or the square that becomes a cube. So cube dynamics takes a little bit. I'm not going to go into that in this video. But 33 likes to rise in the ranks. It likes to ascend. It likes to grow. It's competitive. It wants to reach the top. This is where that's competitive. So This competition drives this raw expansion, expression, and growth that's just driven by the cosmos. 0 here represents infinity. Infinite or cosmic intelligence, universe, the abstract pre-numbers, which here, the inner digit always represents the Shiva. So here 0 is directing the 3 to grow and expand. Follow synchronicities. 36-9 is a number of mental discernment. 3, because it's so creative, it has so many ideas, it can be very scattered because 3 is also childlike energy. 3 is very social. You can see why 3, here's the 3, is about creating connections. So 5 and 3 are both networking in ways. 3 is really good at creating connections that will build something, that will create a connection between 2 people in particular. 5 is more, once the square is built, you have the 4 sides. The 5 is a space between, erratic communication. All this is to build coherence, the 6, which then the square becomes a face. It's no longer empty space, it becomes a coherent space. In this coherent space, this family, unity, bond, community, cohesion, the 3 needs it. The 3 needs to root itself because 6 is also the earth energy. It's groundedness. The 3 needs to be grounded in responsibility, the 6. And from this responsibility, which could take the shape of a family, a community, some sort of emotional connections, it can ground itself because otherwise, if the 3 is in imbalance, where it's ignoring the 6, and the 3 here is just going off and doing its own thing without looking first at the 6, it's too obsessed with achievement, too competitive, too focused on growth without really a purpose. They can be someone who will want success symbols, like car, the home, but there's a superficiality, the trophy wife, the trophy life. But there will be a superficiality to it unless they ground it in this. And so the correct flow of this is the 3 has to bow to the 6, so 6 is a priority, responsibility, and from that responsibility you can grow. So as the 3, which is the patriarch, 3 is growing, expanding, expressing for the purposes of their family. Think about it in that context. They have a responsibility, and then they're going out to achieve success for the sake of the family, or the responsibility or the emotional connection. Now, of course, this is not an ordinary 6. It is a 33-6, but it still remains the same. 6 balances this number out. 36-9 is about grounding yourself in responsibility and expressing from that place. Creative responsibility, creative coherence, creative harmony, expression of love. This is all 36, which creates a completion, the achievement. 9 is the achievement of the 1. In the sense of going through all the numbers, 9 is the completion. It's the achievement. It's the fruit. That's why in Vedic astrology, the 9th house is one of the, what do they call it? The fruit houses, Bhagya houses, I believe. Forgive me if I'm saying that incorrectly. I haven't studied Vedic for a while, but I have a lot of these memories. 9 is the achievement. The 3 is, so the achievement, the 9, is what the 3 needs to feel good, to feel fulfilled. So, in imbalance, the 3 becomes too outward focused. It becomes too needing of validation, whether it's from people or objects or some sort of success or achievement. And it, without grounding in the 6, some sort of responsibility, some sort of inner harmony, it loses itself and it just becomes too scattered. It's the child. As a success code for the 3, I'll give you some success codes for the 3. 3 works best when they operate with a certain lightheartedness. When they have humor. Humor is very, very important. It helps the 3 to transmute denser energies because 3 is child. It's pre-organization. 4 isn't when things start to get serious. 4 is when you're being called to give structure and organize. 3 is more of a raw creative expression, like an abstract art. It's pre-organization. So 3, lightheartedness, humor, laughter is good. Now, 3 can also use that as a mask. So you have to ask yourself if you are a 3, especially if you're born on a day that adds to a 3. 3, 12, 21, 30th. Is it a mask or is it use humor? So there's a story about this guy, I forget his name, he's a major professor at Stanford. Dr. Norman Cousins, I think his name. He apparently got cancer multiple times and he healed it through laughter. Apparently, I think the story goes that he was in the hospital and he watched a bunch of comedy movies, and it was through laughter he transmuted the cancer. This is very much a 3 success code. Another success code for 3, especially for those who are more spiritual. 3 does very good with mantras because 3 is the power of the word. So if you get a mantra from a guru, this is really, really good. Mantras for Jupiter. If you're not spiritual, and that's okay, this is a number that will be good for affirmations. Speaking affirmations. They can use that to create, to expand, to grow. Affirmations, present tense. And 3 is good for writing as well. This is a type of writing where you're not thinking about it in advance. This is like you get a brand new piece of paper and you just write out what's in your heart. Present tense, what it is you want, but say it in present tense without thinking about it. 3 can manifest like that. Another success code for 3 is because 3 is very outward focused energy, their energy kind of fills the room when they're at. 3s can have troubles with looking inside of themselves. In fact, both 3 and 6 are outward energies. Because in the number square, this may be too much, as the noise suggests, but I'm going to show it to you as I've already started drawing. Hopefully you can see that. This is the inner mental numbers. This is the medium numbers. These are the outer numbers. So 3, 6, and 9. 3, 6, and 9 are all outward facing numbers. It means relationships is a big deal for these numbers. That means for 3 in particular, it has all 3 of those numbers. 3, to get clarity, because it can have trouble meditating, can use the voice. Talking to people, specifically number 2 people. 2s are the listeners. They're the guides. They're the ones who can receive the information and intuit the answers. 3s do really well with 2s. 3s also do well with 2 other things. Number 1, a voice recording app on your phone. I have one on my phone. You can record your voice and listen back to it. But what happens with a 3 have this magic with them. Once the 3 starts speaking, just by getting the ball rolling, they will eventually get themselves and calibrate themselves into a flow state where they just start speaking in ways that everything starts to make sense. All the dots start to connect in their head. This is a power of the 3, to get themselves in a flow state. So, for example, when I make these videos, I have 3 as one of my success codes. And by the way, real quick, if you like to know your success codes and how you're supposed to function and operate, check out the description of this video. There's going to be a link to my website where you can have my contact details and we can set up a consultation. I am doing readings, analysis. I'm also now doing name change numerology. And I'll be finishing my master's in business numerology towards the later end of this year, 2025. Okay. One of my success codes is the 3. So what I would do with these videos, for example, is I don't pre-organize the video in my head. I get some general talking points, but usually I just turn the camera on and I start talking. And I put myself, eventually what I found is I get myself into this flow state where I start accessing information that I wouldn't otherwise had if I limited myself to some sort of structure. The last thing I'll say about 3, another success code, is working with AI. 4, the structure works good with 3 if the structure comes after. In other words, the 3 is allowed to get it all out first and then structure is applied, versus if structure is applied too quickly and it disrupts the flow of the 3. That's why 3 and 4 are considered enemy numbers, because they create a digit sum 7. They have a great potential, a great spiritual potential, but the 4 has to serve the 3. So a better way of putting this, would be 43-7. This is an ideal relationship. Not in Chaldean, it has some things with it, but as far as the flow, where the 3 is allowed to get it all out, and then the 4 takes that, organizes it, and runs with it. Very, very good one. And this is the AI. ChatGPT. You put in your raw ideas, your downloads into ChatGPT, and then let ChatGPT organize that body of work. And I've gotten some fantastic results when I started doing this. I started playing with AI actually this year, only several months ago, but I have progressed so far from the AI. It's truly profound. And with the AI's memory, it starts to become a version of you, but you can program it with your raw expressions, your creativity, etc. Okay, I covered a lot in this video, probably more than I was intending. In fact, I didn't have intention other than I wanted to cover the 3 and cover some of the core components of the 3 here. A lot more could be unpacked because this 3 in Chaldean has 3 diamonds on the physical level, 3 on the emotional, 3 on the spiritual. That would require a lot longer video, which we're not going to do now. But if you have a 3 in your chart, you're born a day that adds to a 3, a month that adds to a 3, March or December, a year that adds to a 3, a life path that adds to a 3, or you have certain combinations between these different nodes that creates a 3. If you'd like to know more about that, check out the description and get the link to my website, because you want to know your success codes. You also want to know what are the other numbers that are around 3. How is the 3 being used in the chart? Because in numerology, you have 2 kind of main things: the energies, which is the numbers, and the context. Context is everything. So if the 3 is in the day, it's going to be different than the 3 in the life path. It's different than the year. It's different than the month. They're all slightly different versions of the 3. Okay, comments, questions, feedback. Leave a comment underneath this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, make sure to hit subscribe and the bell notification. If you like this video, give it a like so other people can see it in their newsfeed. As always, wishing the best. Happy manifesting. God bless.